Hi, hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Creative Diaries. My name is Lillian. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for connecting with me across space and time, wherever you are located. I'm so happy that you are here. Today's episode will be a bit more personal, a personal update from me. And I'm going to try to find my way into where to begin here. I'll start exactly where I am, just giving you a sense of where I am located, both internally and externally. I'll start with the external, it's a little bit easier. I'm currently at a beautiful artist residency center called Wild Heart. It's located in the Hudson Valley, New York. And I arrived here about a week ago, and I will be here for the remainder of the month. And I'm actually planting seeds and hoping that I'll be staying longer, whether it's here at the center or just in this area. I've been in a long process of finding home, home from inside of myself, but also home externally. Like, where do I want to be? Where do I want to settle? Or maybe a better word than settle is root. Where do I want to start to root? Um, and I'm in no rush to be in this process. I mean, sometimes it feels there's some fear that comes up for me and even some panic or desperation, like, I need to ground myself, I need to root myself. But I feel like I'm actually really honoring this process and honoring that it will take as long as it takes. And I'm going to move at the pace that feels right for me, where I can really remain listening to my intuition and to my body and to my internal felt sense and listen to the wisdom of my heart. Um, so while I'm here, ever since I got here at Wild Heart Center, I've noticed this huge shift just in my nervous system, which is really great information. This is sort of like how I orient to new places is really, I enjoy going to new places, especially when I'm on this like journey to find home. Um, but to just go and arrive someplace and just notice how I feel, notice what happens to my body, notice what starts to shift and change, notice what my senses are taking in and how that is actually feeling in my body. And I noticed that ever since I got here, I felt like a major sort of settling energy where there was suddenly all of this space internally, externally, whatever worry or fear or anxiety that was kicked up before, all of a sudden it was like the dust started to settle. And I'm in an environment where there's a lot of nature. It's currently May 2nd, and in New York, May is the month that everything starts to bloom and become green and spring is really, really lush and starting to come alive. Everything is starting to come alive again. And so this is a really beautiful time to be here. And I'm exploring the community of artists, community of dancers up here. I'm exploring what movement means to me now, what my art means to me. Um, and maybe, yeah, what it means to me, but also like what my process is and shifting and changing, sensing into what my motivations are to create dance, to create online, to create through writing. And so I'm in this like big kind of like, ooh, shifting place. Um, that's really been facilitated by this beautiful environment here, which I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that this exists, that this opportunity was available to me, and grateful that I listened to my heart and my intuition. And this is sort of what I want to talk about today. Maybe that's a good entry point into what's happening for me internally, like where I'm locating myself. In a weird way, it's hard to locate myself because there seems to be this major shifting happening really like below the surface. I often get this image of like Pangea, right? Like like earthly tectonic plates shifting and moving. So these like huge, like gigantic shifts that are subtle but make an enormous impact. And often I'll sense into that myself where I'm like, all of a sudden, like, whoa, something is moving inside of me and it feels deep and it feels enormous. And I don't know where it's going, but my inner landscape is completely reforming and changing. And I notice for myself when these shifts start to happen internally that it's not always something that other people can see from the outside. It might not even be something that I can see from the outside. It's not like there's any, not necessarily any sort of like manifested um, change that occurs, but it's an internal feeling. And it does remind me of how, when it comes to our change work, right? Like our transformational change work, the healing that we go through, self development that we go through, maturity that we go through, often, maybe always, I don't know, it happens internally first. And there's a bit of a delay. There can be a bit of a delay as to like when something starts to shift internally. And then it's like the external world, it takes a bit of time for the external world to start to change, right? To now match what energy we have stepped into. Yeah, I really observe that in myself and I observe that in my life. And so, yeah, one of my biggest practices just throughout my life is to listen and to feel and to like sense when the winds are changing, you know? Sometimes I feel like I'm like licking my finger and like feeling what direction the winds are blowing in now, or like sensing, the very subtleties of the light changing and feeling that turning of the earth. It happens inside of us too. So those subtle shifts and changes where you just kind of sense that something is beginning to move, sort of like the way that the seasons turn, right? You can tell. It's like even before the buds start to come out, like even before you can see externally that, spring is coming, you can sense the vibration of something much more subtle churning underneath. And there's this anticipation, there's like this sense that something is about ready to change or something is about ready to evolve and manifest. And it's the same with us too. And so this is a practice of mine of really tuning into the subtle shifts and changes. And then the harder part of the practice for me is to listen to them. Well, to follow their direction. That's what I mean. Because we can listen, right? We can listen and feel and be like, oh yeah, yeah, something's happening. And then we can go into resistance and be like, yeah, no, like I feel this thing is happening, that I feel like something is changing, but I'm not ready yet. Or I don't want to do what this thing is calling me to do. I don't want to change my behavior. I don't want to change my mindset. I don't want to, I'm going to cling, 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 cling onto what I know and what is familiar. And honestly, I think that's just part of the process. And maybe we get better at letting go. Um, I think maybe I have. I think there's evidence that practice helps. And there's also room for the compassion of just being human, and that as human beings, it's part of our process to cling on to the past and hold on and become afraid of change. And I think that is something that we can learn to work with over time, and hold space for within ourselves. So where am I going with this? I'm listening to what's changing inside of me, turning inside of me, and now the real practice and the real work is for me to follow the directions, follow the instructions, the cosmic instructions. And I keep getting this sort of download, or this something comes up for me around letting go of the way that I've been putting my energy and attention into the things that I have been creating, specifically around my business, although I guess this applies to all areas of life. But I'm really super focused in on my business creations right now, and that something is really being asked to change and be different about how I'm utilizing my energy and my attention. And it's really wild because to my like regular mind, my habitual mind, what's being asked of me doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Um, I'm being asked to let go of something, maybe let go of my private practice as a somatic therapist, maybe let go of like my business model entirely. And it's been something that's been coming up for me recently, this sort of feeling or download. And at first the way I was interpreting this was like, yeah, yeah, like energetically, right? Like energetically, like I experience a lot of clinging. I experience a lot of putting a lot of pressure on myself, a lot of harsh self-criticism, conscious or unconscious, a lot of grasping onto, how I want things to look and how I want things to be, attaching my sense of self-worth to my success. Like this is stuff that has been a big challenge for me throughout, you know, I mean, throughout my whole life, but really ever since I was like, I'm going to be a solopreneur and I'm going to create the life that I want to live and I want to do this and I'm going to start an Instagram and I'm going to build a community and I'm going to build a private practice. And so it's like, I forget who said this. It might have been Michelle Pelazon that I heard it from. She's the founder of Holisticism, saying something about how if you want to go on a healing journey, then start a business. Like there is nothing that will challenge you more and show you your shadows than being an entrepreneur. And I think about that all the time because I'm like, holy shit. Yeah, it's so true. It's been about 5 years since. It's kind of hard to pinpoint like when it all started, like when I decided to make this commitment, but something about when I launched my Instagram back in 2020, my first handle was Soma Love Yoga. No, actually, maybe it was that before that. I forget. It was Soma Love Therapy, not yoga. Soma Love Therapy, that was my first handle. And it was not just the Instagram. I mean, there was, definitely a desire and a pursuit to grow my community and my audience on Instagram for sure. But it was also like a big initiation into just like deciding that this is where I was going to sort of shape my identity. And my purpose, right? Like me stepping into this role that I wanted to embody in my life, which is to be a practicing somatic movement educator and therapist. It's what I went to school for. It's my passion. It still is. And in starting this Instagram, it really was a symbol to myself of commitment. And I'm like, I'm going to do the damn thing and I'm just going to figure this out. And I did a lot of self-learning, a lot of um, practicing, throwing spaghetti at the wall, learning all about social media marketing. Um, there's been so many ups and downs, so many challenges with being online in this way. Um, Challenges that I feel I've really learned and transformed from, and there has been immense healing in this area, and also challenges that continue to persist.